March 15th, 2022 to order. First item is Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, next item is adoption of the agenda. Need a
Romano
motion?
adopts the agenda.
Support by Nard.
Moved by Romano, supported by Nard. Any discussion? Seeing none, please vote.
Motion passes 13-0.
Okay, next item is approval of minutes. I need a motion to approve 4A and 4B.
Motion to approve Van Sickle.
Support by
Zinner.
Nard.
Made by Van Sickle, supported by Zinner. Are there any corrections, updates to the minutes? Seeing none, please vote.
Motion passes 13-0.
Okay, next item is public participation. This is a first opportunity for the public to participate. For those who would wish to speak for a maximum of 3 minutes on any item which is on today's agenda. The second opportunity for public participation is for those who wish to speak on any issue. Would anyone from the public like to speak? Come up to the podium if you'd like so. Once, going twice. We'll close public participation. Next item is 6A, presentations of Finance Department for the 2021 fourth quarter report. I need a motion to receive and file.
So moved by Nard.
Support Van Sickle.
Moved by Nard, supported by Van Sickle. Steve, you have the floor.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Good to see everyone again. As I normally do in prior presentations, I'll keep my comments short. If if there are any questions, I'll certainly field those questions. We're busy in our office closing year end, getting ready for the audit, which starts in the middle of April. And there's nothing of concern from my position to alert the board to in terms of how we expect 2021 to perform. However, what I would like to do is spend just a little bit of time talking about the capital plan update. And if you could go to what I believe is page 135 of the agenda. So it's the Capital Improvement Fund. We've talked about this as recently as last week. And I mentioned to you at the time there's about $15 million in that fund, and that was the proposed funding source for the Workday project. And the reason I want to talk about this now is I've told you in previous quarters that this is the checkpoint for spending on capital plan items that are not in the capital plan, essentially. So what you'll see on page 135 is a balance sheet for the Capital Improvement Fund. And that's where you'll see $15.3 million of cash. You'll see toward the bottom of those numbers that there were about $901,000 of revenues coming into that fund and about $401,000 of expenses. And as I've mentioned in the past, the monies flowing in will come from other project funds where we're closing out projects that have come in under budget, essentially.
Chair, excuse me, it only goes to 122.
Oh, I'm up to 193 or something.
Because you're looking at the whole packet.
Okay.
Does it have a page number on it? It doesn't. All right, we'll figure it out.
If you want to, I don't know if you can see this. It's a very small report.
Okay.
I don't know. It's 135 on the agenda I printed.
122 pages, we'll easily find it.
So what I printed out had 215 pages, so maybe halfway through.
Actually, in the package, we have the 215-page one. It's in the package. The previous screen to the one you're looking at.
I think I'm on it on 116.
It's 135 on my packet.
Trial balance kept, can I,
Oh, yes, trial balance, 135.
is it 135?
You're looking at?
Yeah.
So page 117?
135 of the total package. That's normally on with the agenda.
That is the one. Absolutely. That in the next 3 or 4 pages.
That's correct.
It might be good next time we put it on the screen so we can.
116, Commissioners, 116.
That's a good idea.
Restart the presentation.
Is everybody with me?
I opened up a can of worms, I'm sorry.
I would have kept going, so it's probably good that you stopped me before I.
We were all in the same fish bucket.
It's 117, I think.
116, Commissioners. Let's see.
Okay, is everybody with me? So you'll see the $15 million, you've got $901,000 of revenues, $400,000 or $401,000 of expenses. As I've mentioned in the past, the money's coming into that fund should generally only be transfers from other projects that came in under budget. And so the following page is a list of those, and they're also spelled out on previous pages in the capital plan. The descriptions here are from the accounting system, so they're not necessarily displaying every single project. A number of those are a few years old, and we just left the money there. We didn't know what final spends were going to be and such and so forth. The page following that will show you the transfers back out from this fund to other projects. And there were 3 that the board approved that were not on the capital plan that we funded with monies going from here to, we call it Fund 401, which is the Capital Projects Fund. The point being, this is your checkpoint. You'll see everything coming in and everything going out every quarter. So if you see something on here and you don't recognize it, we should be able to tie it back to some action by the board, unless it's under $35,000, which we may from time to time do something like that as well. So anyway, that's the extent of my comments on the capital plan. I just wanted to ensure this is the first quarter that we've had this in and out activity that I've referred to in the past, but have never been able to demonstrate to you. So with that, I'll take any questions.
Short and sweet, Steve. Actually, I put my name here on the list, thinking there'd be other commissioners. I'm sure they'll be rolling in here. So can we go back to what you had just said, Steve? So this was actually going to be one of my questions anyway. So now I know a couple years ago the board made some changes in regards to the capital improvement or the capital projects fund. To my understanding, the excess of that amount, if the project was $10 million and we only spent $9 million, that $1 million differential was to come back to the general fund. To my understanding, what's happening is it's going to the capital improvement
It's
fund.
going into the capital improvement fund to be available to fund other projects that may not be on a particular year's capital plan.
Okay.
But again, you'll see everything going in and out of this fund every quarter.
Okay, so basically like you had stated, the second page, or page 117 for the commissioners, these are all the transfers from previous projects that were, except for one, that were under budget?
One goes way back. The $11,000 goes back several years that ended up being over budget at the time.
But all the other budgets that I'm looking at here, or projects I should say, that I'm looking at here, these are all under budget by those amounts.
Yes,
So the tune of 912,000 and change.
correct.
Okay. Commissioner Farrington.
Thank you, Chair. Steve, welcome. Couple questions, more for clarification than digging into anything. Revenue came in at 95% compared to forecasted. This being the fourth quarter, why would it be, is there any general reasons that it came in? I mean, it's not a 1 or 2% difference, it's.
Are you talking about general fund specifically?
I believe that's right.
We may not have closed everything in revenue at this
Okay.
point. For example, property taxes. So we have to wait until February 28th to get a 60-day collection period to be able
Okay.
to know what portion.
I figured
is
there was some
unearned.
reason that it's off by.
Right, and we
that
may not
much.
have booked, I'd have to look at specific line items. We may not have booked the February revenue sharing payment. I don't know that, but we
Okay.
haven't, we're not closed
Revenue
yet.
sharing was significantly lower, so.
Yeah, so we get 6 payments a year. We have to wait till we get the amount in February so we know what to book.
Okay, no,
a
that makes sense.
receivable.
Again, this is just for me learning
Yeah.
here. The other one was like quarterly on revenue coming in, personal services and inmate housing combined, they're about $1 million lower than what you thought. Any reason?
For inmate housing, again, we're probably behind on getting some billings in. Again, we can only recognize revenue if it's collected
So it's
within
timing
60 days.
issues
A
on those
timing
kind of
issue
things?
with a lot of our revenues in terms of
Alright.
collection periods.
All right, thank you, Chair.
Steve, a couple of questions here that I had. I don't see other speakers on the board. In regards to emergency management, they had part-time wages for the year of almost $300,000 that wasn't in their budget.
That's all related to the CARES money, so that money's gonna have to be moved out. As far.
So
we were
when will that
charging-
amendment happen? Because
Pardon?
there's going to have to be a budget amendment for that?
No, we'll move that to the CARES fund. It's gonna be money, expenses going out.
Okay. So this report doesn't show all your final
No,
adjustments?
we will not be
This is
closed
just-
until the middle of April.
Okay. Conferences and training. The sheriff's budget, I had talked about a little bit in regards to conferences and training during the budget cycle. They had a transfer here for tasers for $25,000 from their conferences and training budget to capital outlay.
What page are, well, I'm not sure what page to look at. Are you on
Yeah,
the-
I don't
you on
know
the
what
budget
page it
amendments?
says.
Are
I'm
you-
sorry.
Are you on the list of budget amendments, or,
I'm on the budget adjustment report, dated November 8th, 2021.
do you have a budget reference number?
Would that be the number all the way to the
Far
left?
left.
BU 123866.
$866.
And the reason I'm asking is that $25,000, their total budget for that line item was $250,000. That's 10% of their budget that they transferred over. I'm
Out
just-
of conferences?
Yeah,
Yeah, I would suspect it has something to do with COVID and,
okay.
lack of training opportunities in '21.
Okay. And then the last question I have, in regards to one of the transfers, it's a capital outlay transfer. It's on November 12th. The reference number is BU 123882. It's for $583,000.
So we will be, capital outlay, so we should have been transferring money out of capital outlay, non-departmental capital outlay, to transfers out to go to the capital projects fund, and that would have been a board-approved item for, there's an owner's representative contract. I don't know what that is off the top of my head. I can get back with you.
Okay.
that's
Is this
a
one of the ones that was
board-approved
not, is this one of the ones that was not in the capital plan?
I believe so, but I don't know off the top of my head. I'll get back with you, Commissioner.
Okay,
But it's definitely was a board action.
okay. Commissioner Kleinfeld.
Okay, going back to page 116, 117. And I always get confused because we've named these funds so similarly to each other. So when you're transferring these over, you're not transferring them into the line item that we created to transfer over into the line item to actually do the projects.
When you say.
Remember we
that-
created that, we said, okay, we're not going to move the money over until you're actually doing the project, as opposed to giving you $19 million and say,
Right.
okay, have fun.
So the line item, when you say the line item, you're talking about the non-departmental capital outlay in the general fund, I believe.
Okay, so you're not transferring it back to that. You're transferring it to the one that is already a go-ahead to do projects, correct?
Anything going out of here is correct. If it's going out of Fund 406, Capital Improvement Fund, it's going over to capital projects that have been approved by the board, unless, of course, they're under 35,000. And typically, it's going to be projects that were not on the capital plan, therefore not in the budget in the general fund for that particular year.
Okay,
That's-
and so that fund, is that what the next page is with the what's the total? Is that growing because of that, or are we having unanticipated projects that are actually extensive enough to be taking up that money?
I would say yes. So you've got.
That was an either or, and you just said yes.
I mean, you're talking, you've got a $175,000 project, you got a $132,000 project that weren't on the capital plan. So our mode of operation is.
That we either get an opportunity or something happens we weren't anticipating.
Correct. Again, this is your check valve to see that whatever's coming out of the capital improvement fund is something that the board approved. That's your check valve, is this report every quarter.
Well, this shows the transfer in. How do we know from looking at this that we approved?
That's the transfers out. Anything going out of this fund should be going to the capital improvement fund with a specific designation of what we're funding with it. As you'll see on, I'm guessing it's page 118, I think. It's got 3 projects on it.
Okay, that was the missing piece. That's what I.
Yeah, that's your check valve right there.
Okay, thank you. That was the missing piece
Yep.
right there. Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Commissioner Matuzak?
Thank you, Chair. Steve, I'm not entirely sure if this is a you question or a more general question, and it has to do with Freedom Hill Park, which I was not here when agreements were made about Freedom Hill. Looking at the expenditures, clearly we have a person there, they have a vehicle, they make some repairs. I gather that from this section of the budget. But then we also have an actual year-to-date of $185,000 in services and supplies, and another $98,000, almost $99,000 in utilities. What's the agreement there? Do we pay all the utilities, and what are these supplies we're providing?
Yeah, we pay the utilities, the supplies, I'll have to get back with you.
Yeah,
That
it's
number
just-
doesn't ring a bell off the top of my
It's-
head.
It's a lot of money,
Right.
$185,000 in supplies and services. So we maintain a person there.
We have personnel, grounds care, utilities. We're responsible for anything outside the amphitheater as it goes to, in terms of capital improvements, that kind of thing.
Okay. I would be
So-
interested in what these supplies and services are.
Sure, I can
It's
get
just a
that
really
for you.
large number.
Yep, absolutely.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Song?
Thank you, Chair. Not a question, just a comment. I can't wait till we get this workday thing transitioned over this to $10 million that we just approved. I hope that will solve a lot of the issues or clarify some of the things that we're looking at here in this 120-page document. Is that something that you talked to them about?
We haven't had in-depth discussions yet. It's a very complex system, as you can imagine. So everything, we don't know everything about it, of course. We haven't really got into the nuts and bolts of it yet, but we'll see some improvements.
Thank you, Chair.
Okay, seeing no other speakers, please vote.
Motion passes 13-0.
Okay, next item is the Treasurer's Office 2021 fourth quarter report. I need a motion to receive and file.
So moved by Nard.
Support Van Sickle.
Moved by Nard, supported by Van Sickle. Deputy Treasurer, you have the floor.
Hello, Commissioners. Joe Biondo on behalf of our Macomb County Treasurer, Larry Rocca. I just wanted to highlight two things regarding the fourth quarter report and then open it up for any questions. The main highlight is this is the 20th quarterly report under Treasurer Rocca's leadership. We've been successful every quarter, meeting the objectives required of us through the Macomb County Investment Plan. Of course, we kept these investments safe. We maintained liquidity for county operations, and also we exceeded our yield compared to our internal benchmark. The other point I wanted to make in response to one of the Commissioner's questions offline was to just highlight the 14 current banks that we do business with. 10 out of the 14 have brick and mortar branch locations in the county. One of the other 4 remaining banks has a home loan center in Macomb County, but not a branch office. So only 3 of the banks we currently do business with lack a brick and mortar location in Macomb County. The closest those 3 are to Macomb County. They have branch locations in Oakland County. And that's just what I wanted to cover on this item.
Thank you. Commissioner Farrington.
Thank you, Chair. Hey, Joe.
Hello, sir.
Didn't sleep last night, so I had fun crunching numbers.
Yes, sir.
No, I was wondering because we've talked about the 25% threshold per institution, and for those that care, First State Bank was the highest at 13% of their assets is our money. So, question for you: why do you separate Chase and J.P. Morgan on the reports? Chase has 28 million deposits. J.P. Morgan, which is the same institution, has 103 million.
Yeah, it's because the J.P. Morgan Chase refers to the trust company that holds the treasuries that we buy.
Okay.
And so if anything were to happen to the trust company, they have to maintain sufficient collateral so that the county would be held harmless. And so we would have those treasuries.
No, that makes sense.
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Chair.
Commissioner Matuzak.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to thank you for, that was my original question back the first couple of times you came to us about which banks we were doing business with had a Macomb County presence, so I appreciate you reporting on that. Thank you.
You're welcome,
Thank you, Mr.
Commissioner.
Chair.
Commissioner Romano.
Thank you, Chair. Good afternoon, Mr. Biondo.
Hello, sir.
Mr. Biondo, I've been on this commission almost 5.5 years. I have seen Mr. Roca in here maybe twice, once for sure. I mean, I've heard your report, but there are questions that I think he, as the treasurer, and not a subordinate, should be answering. And I've got some questions regarding the $100 million tax revolving fund that's under his direction. I mean, Karen Springer, she was a director, she shows up. Eric Smith showed up, but I never see Mr. Roca in here. I don't know why he sends you in here. I think he's competent enough to answer some of the questions. I also have some questions regarding all these ads that he's putting on, close to $100,000 that we're paying for. This was done back some time ago, but you can pass that on to him. I appreciate you coming in here, but I would certainly like to see Mr. Roca here. This is his department. He's the treasurer, and he should be up at that podium. Thank you, Mr. Biondo. Thank you, Chair.
Commissioner Song.
Thank you, Chair. I could say that about the executive as well, too, but it's always great to see you, Joe.
Hello, ma'am.
There's been a lot of companies divesting out of Russia. Do you know of any of these CDs and banks and all the transactions? Do we have any investments that would be tied to that country?
So not through the Macomb County Treasurer's Office investment portfolio, but I believe the pension system has some exposure there, less than 0.5%. Commissioner Hall raised it as an issue, and I supported him on addressing that at the next pension meeting, and I think you'll see some movement on that matter at the pension board meetings.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Commissioner Hall.
I guarantee you'll see some movement at the next pension meeting. Thank you.
Seeing no other speakers, please vote.
Thank you.
Motion passes 13-0.
Okay, next item is Resolution 2022-8106, designating public fund depositories in compliance with Act 40 Public Acts of 1932 as amended. I need a motion to recommend this to full board. Made by Farrington, supported by Wallace. Joe, you're back up.
Thank you. Once again, Joe Biondo on behalf of the Macomb County Treasurer, Larry Rocco. I wanted to highlight the substantive changes from the previous year's depository resolution in the interest of time, and be certainly happy to answer any questions at the end. What I want to highlight is the 14 current banks that we're doing business is one short of the 15 that was approved by this board in the last depository resolution. And if you recall, last year was a bit unusual because we had to come before you twice on the depository resolutions, because what was happening then is happening now, and we anticipate that happening in the future, namely these economic conditions that seem to be encouraging bank mergers. So as banks merge, and if we see a merger like we did recently where TCF merged into Huntington, we lose one of the banks that we've been doing business with, and so we're required to look for additional financial institutions in order that we have a sufficient number to comply with the Macomb County investment policy in order to, again, meet our primary objective, which is safety, which we do through diversification, whether through financial institutions or the actual investment class. And so some of the feedback we received last year regarding the depository resolution, the treasurer had an opportunity to review with his staff. We consulted with Corporation Counsel. And so instead of getting into the additions to the financial institution list, I wanted to highlight on the second page, paragraph C. There was a comment made, I believe, by Commissioner Farrington as to the threshold or the cap on not exceeding 50% of the capitalization of the individual bank. After we reviewed that, Treasurer made a determination that we could reduce that by half to 25% to address that concern. And so what that basically means is that if a bank, just throwing out a number, has $100 million, no more than $25 million of that could be county money. Now, this is something as far as the 50% number that had been in the deposit resolution for years, even before I came on at the county. And the primary vehicle to ensure diversification is really the Macomb County investment policy. But we certainly felt, and more importantly, the treasurer agreed that there was no downside to reducing that from 50 to 25%. There was discussion as to not going lower because some of the banks we do business with in Macomb County would be, especially the smaller banks, might be negatively impacted, although we've never gotten close to the 25% mark. We felt that was a good incremental step this year to improve the depository resolution language compared to what we did last year. So moving on from that, in regards to the addition to the list of financial institutions, the Treasurer's recommendation is to include the 14 that we're currently doing business and adding 2 more. We also got feedback last year from the board about going through some kind of bidding process for this type of work. And so we reviewed that with the purchasing director, Larry Lee. We consulted with him, Corporation Counsel, and the recommendations from both departments and the staff in the Treasurer's office agreed was to do an RFQ. We posted that through the purchasing department. It was for a 1-month period from October to November of last year. And throughout that process and at the end, we only had 5 financial institutions that responded to the RFQ. And so I believe this board's familiar with some of the difficulties the departments have had through the bidding process for various reasons. And of course, the position of the Treasurer's office is we cannot comply with the Macomb County investment policy with only 5 financial institutions. So we relied on the prior methodology we've always used every year to great success, which is relying on the staff in the Treasurer's office to research banks, financial institutions, primarily located in Macomb County, that were investment grade, and basically review those, and if we thought that they were safe institutions, to recommend them to the board. And we've had great success with that methodology every year.
And so we provided today a handout, which is an update to the ratings for the banks. We got updated information yesterday. And as you can see, and just as a reminder, maybe for context for folks at home, anything that's rated on the bar rating 4 stars or higher, that's considered investment grade. Likewise, on the Robinson rating system, anything that's a B or higher is considered investment grade. And every year, our recommended depository resolution includes investment grade financial institutions. And so that's one of the things that we look at, in addition to the market cap or book value of these institutions, and that's all listed there. So in the process of doing this, especially in light of the experience we had in 2020, where we had a high water mark of $663 million in our investment portfolio, and then another high water mark in 2021 of $848 million, primarily from all the federal money we received. We felt that we need a minimum of 15, if not more, financial institutions. And so doing our due diligence, we found Choice One Bank, and we thought that was a good fit. They have a brick and mortar location in Macomb County. And Michigan Schools and Government Credit Union was the second financial institution that we wanted to add. This is the first time that we're recommending a credit union be added to the depository resolution. And so we had Assistant Corporation Counsel Frank Krisha review it, along with the investment policy and Public Act 20, which governs how treasurers handle their investments. And his legal opinion is that this is legal, and in light of the financial strength of the credit union, the treasurer wanted to do this. Going forward, we anticipate, as I said earlier, that more and more banks are going to merge, and so if we're going to tap into credit unions, especially the ones that have a presence in Macomb County, we wanted to go with what we felt was the strongest one in the county, which is Michigan Schools and Government Credit Union. And so with that, we have Walter Bargan and Michael Burke here from Choice One Bank. The chair of the Finance Committee was kind enough to allow us to have them present for just 3 or 5 minutes on their connection to Macomb County, and they provided some handout materials which we distributed earlier. So without further ado, I invite them to come up and speak for 3 to 5 minutes, and then I'll be back. Johnny, go ahead.
Thank you. Afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Walt Bargan, Vice President of Municipal and Public Funds at Choice One Bank, and with me is the President of the Bank of Choice One Bank, Michael Burke. Choice One has total assets of $2.3 billion and is rated 8th among the Michigan chartered banks. We presently have 2 locations, one brick and mortar branch in Armada, and also have a loan production office located on Hall Road in the UHY building. We currently have 660 active commercial loans with $100,844,648 outstanding in the county. Choice One has recently received Newsweek's recognition of Best Small Bank in Michigan for the 2nd year in a row. One of the flyers that we did distribute does touch on that Newsweek honor. The Newsweek did come up with that award last year, and we were fortunate enough to receive it, and then this year it was our 2nd year also. Also, I've distributed our latest annual statement for your review. Our president, Mike Burke, is located in Lapeer, as I am also, so we are a local run institution, and I'd like to give Mike a few minutes.
Thanks, Walt. Thank you, Commissioners. I just want to give you more information on Choice One and myself. Mike Burke, I'm president. I'm born and raised in Lapeer. Still live there, lifelong banker. Our bank was started in 1898, so we're well over 100 years old. We are still based in Michigan, obviously. We have 31 branches, and we obviously pay taxes on all those branches, including in Macomb County. 90% of our shareholders are still local, most living in Michigan. We give over $300,000 every year to local charities and donations. We give back to our communities. We're ran by an 18-member board of directors who are all local business owners and partners in the community. We do a lot of work with the munis in our markets. We service both some urban type markets, but also many rural markets. So typically we bank any muni school district in that market and take good care of them. As Walt said, Macomb County is a big part of our growth plan. We have a branch in Armada. Our plan is to continue to move down through Macomb County. We think the county needs more community banks that are based in Michigan. That's why we opened up a loan production office up on Hall Road with the intent that a branch would soon follow after that. So with that, I'd be glad to take any questions you might have on our bank, or we can end our time.
Thank you for the presentation. I don't see any speakers. Joe, just one quick question. In regards to the RFP that you did for the bidding.
It was a RFQ, sir.
I'm sorry, FQ.
Yes.
Was Choice One or Michigan Schools and Government Credit Union, were they the ones that actually submitted anything, or were these under the?
No, so we had 5 financial institutions respond to the RFQ. It was 5 out of the 14 that we currently do business with.
Okay. Commissioner Farrington.
Thank you, Chair. Hey, Joe. Were other credit unions considered? I mean, nothing against Michigan Schools, great credit union. But
Yeah, we looked at a couple other ones. They were a lot lower in terms of their
asset size. Yeah.
in terms of their deposits, and so we felt we should go with the strongest credit union we found.
Okay, so down the road, it might be something if they fit the criteria or whatever.
Yeah, again, if we see more of the banks merge, we're going to definitely take a look at more credit unions.
Okay, and just a comment that, you know, if you do have to go back in 2-3 years, an RFQ won't be a bad thing, because right now all the banks are sitting on a lot of cash.
Yeah, that
so a
was
lot of
one
them don't want more deposits because they can't put it to work.
True. That was one of the recommendations from Larry Lee, the purchasing director. He indicated we could try again in 2-3 year time, something like that.
When all that free government money runs out, they'll be looking for businesses and municipalities. Thank you.
We'll have to see. But I did want to invite the representatives of the credit union, unless there were more questions.
Commissioner Song has a question, and then I don't see any other speakers after that.
Okay.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to say I support this resolution, and I support all of our local credit unions. I think we should all do business locally, so appreciate that you've chosen the Michigan Credit Union one, and as well as Choice One as well. So thank you for that. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Well, I guess I'll segue into inviting Jennifer Burnett and Nicole Parnell from the Michigan Schools and Government Credit Union to speak for a few minutes here. Welcome, ladies. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Jennifer Burnett. I'm the branch manager at our newest Macomb County location, which is located on 26 Mile Road in Romeo Plank. I don't know if you guys are familiar.
That's Macomb Township, everybody.
Yes, that is, not to be confused with Macomb Township, yes. So I'm just going to tell you guys a little bit about the credit union. We were founded by a small group of educators in 1954, so we have been around for more than 68 years. Those teachers, the small group of teachers that started us actually were from Macomb County. So one of them I know for sure was from Fraser High School. Our heritage is rooted here in education and in government, and we are the largest financial institution grounded right here in Macomb County. So we're really excited to have that title. MSGCU does have 17 branch offices, and of course we're looking to expand our footprint. 10 of those offices are right here in Macomb County, so that's also very exciting. Anyone that lives in Michigan can join a credit union. It used to be in the past that you had to be a school or government employee. That's how we were started, but we've expanded our membership to all of Michigan, which does include the Upper Peninsula as well. We offer personalized experiences for our members, things like credit counseling. We look to really help. We're really all about people helping other people, so not just about, you know, making the money, but helping others to benefit as well. We offer multiple different financial options. We have one-on-one support, a lot of things with technology. We now offer a blog, interactive virtual education. We also have things like getting started with cash and credit. It's a great program for youth. So, you know, a lot of times either parents maybe don't know how to manage credit or whatnot, and they're trying to help their children. We offer a class, and it's been virtual just because COVID kind of made us have to do that. But it's really nice because it's interactive. The parents can also attend, but the child gets to learn about, you know, what is a credit score? Why is it important? Those kinds of things. So we really root ourselves in those kinds of things. We also do financial reality fairs right here. We've done them in many of the schools in Macomb County. It's really a cool concept where I've had the ability to attend, and you get to go, and those children get a credit score, and they get their little budget, and they have to kind of figure it out and make it work. And it's real life for those kids. And I think a lot of times what was impactful for me was them realizing what does a credit score really mean for me. So just really important things like that we take care of. We are honored to have more than 135,000 members, and 65,000 of those are loyal members right here in Macomb County. So that's also very exciting. We were named a top workplace by the Detroit Free Press for 9 consecutive years. Our funds are much like the banks. The banks are insured by the FDIC. Credit unions are insured by the NCUA. So just so that you know that, we have over $3.1 billion in assets. And credit unions are a little different than banks. We are owned by our members. So what that means is we look to give back profits and whatnot in the way of better rates on your loans, and so lower rates on your loans and higher rates on CDs and those kinds of things, so funds on deposit. We've also done a series of giving back in the community. We really pride ourselves in doing that as far as we do classroom loans. We have grants. We just had someone in our branch yesterday for a first responder loan. That's 0% for somebody, maybe they need to get some equipment for work or whatnot that's not completely funded by their job, so we do try to help those people as well. Giving back, last year in Macomb County, we had 10 specific organizations that we helped last year, things like the Macomb Township Fire Department, many of the fire departments and the police departments, also the Macomb County Sheriff Marine Safety Division. Our branch specifically sponsored the Ray Township Fire Department. We also did Big Family of Michigan and Arts Academy in the Woods. And also team members, they get involved in that as well. We did a organization-wide fundraiser last year where everybody got together and we got to pick the charity that we wanted to donate to, and the credit union sponsored that for us, so that was really kind of cool. And those were things like Children's Miracle Network, the American Cancer Society, those kinds of things. So, and also in response to the devastating tragedy in Oxford, that is one of our schools, so we also wanted to give back with that, and we did several things as far as just giving, financial support to the schools and to help them with counseling and whatnot for the children. Scholarships, every year, MSGCU awards more than $100,000 in scholarships for students, teachers, and first responders. And we also do the classroom grants like I talked about. So every year, Michigan Schools and Government awards more than $45,000 in grants to local teachers. And that can help them to just have fun projects or maybe get supplies that they don't have the money to be able to take care of. Nicole, do you have anything that you'd like to add?
Hello, everyone. The only other thing I just wanted to add, Michigan Schools and Government has been ranked as a top workplace in the state of Michigan for 9 consecutive years. We're in the top 1% of credit unions nationwide. So as alluded to, we're a very strong financial institution and very proud of our Macomb County roots.
And we put together a nice packet for you. Hope you can all enjoy. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
I just want to add one last thing regarding the credit union because it is a little different. If you look at the rating agencies, you'll see that under the Robinson rating, there's an NA for not applicable. That's because they do not write credit unions. And so we're relying on the Bauer rating, and obviously, as you can see, it's a 5-star, so very well rated. And with that, I conclude remarks and more than happy to answer any additional questions.
I don't see any other speakers. Joe, just really quick, because I know we've had the conversations in the past. I know you talked to legal about this, because credit unions, we were allowed to put our county funds in there. So how did this kind of transform into that happening?
Yeah, so because it had never been done, we never had a formal legal review from Corporation Counsel. And so as we saw the bank mergers continue from year to year, I asked Mr. Quisha to do his due diligence on that matter. He reviewed, as I indicated earlier, the Macomb County investment policy, which does not prohibit this, and the Public Act 20, which is the state law that sets the framework on what we can do. And his legal opinion is that we can do business with the credit union going forward.
Okay, great. Seeing no other speakers, please vote.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you, Joe.
Motion passes 12-0.
Okay, next item is lease and notice of federal interest, MyCare Health Center expansion. It's a 9-year total for $1,333,521.20. Need a motion to recommend this to full board.
Motion by Hall.
Support by Nard.
Made by Haw, supported by Nard. Steve? You have the
So,
floor.
just before I start this, fun factoid about the credit union. Commissioner Brown and I have been around long enough to remember the days when they had a branch on the 10th floor of the old county building. Actually had a branch. It was used quite extensively, actually, so.
Was that around World War II?
1990s. So the Gulf War, or, anyway, fun factoid. So anyway, before you have for consideration, a lease with MyCare Health, and it's for 3 suites in the east side, or east wing, if you will, of the Clemens Center. MyCare Health has been leasing 2 suites from the county for upwards of around 10 years. That lease technically expired on February 28th of this year. It had an automatic 1-year renewal or extension in it, so that's being exercised as we speak. What's different about this particular lease is MyCare would like to lease another 3,900 square feet in the Clemens Center, would be in the suite where Rite Aid was once upon a time. And they will, the plan is to build that out with federal grant dollars that will be received by MyCare to build a dental facility for the vulnerable population. So I have my Deputy Director, Steve Adair, who you all know, and Karen Wood. She's the CEO of MyCare Health. Karen's here to answer any questions you may have about the population that they serve and any other sort of information about the operations of that facility. It's an 8-year lease. The grant that they're going to receive from the government runs 8 years, as I understand. That's why the 8-year lease, and an automatic 1-year extension, or an option for an extension. So it's a continuation plus actually added space, and a space we're not really utilizing at this point.
Commissioner Song.
Thank you, Chair. Steve, since this is additional revenue, where does that revenue go? To the general fund?
Goes into the general fund.
Okay, so there's no, I guess, direction on how those funds could be used?
The revenue, it goes into the general fund as a
There's
general
no
pool of
there's no
revenue. It can be
restrictions.
used however we want it to, really.
Okay.
Just like
all right.
all the other rent revenue, just goes into a line item.
Got it. Thanks for clarifying that. I wanted to share, last August, I had a chance to go to a ribbon cutting for MyCare in Centerline. And Karen was there. Nice to see you again, Karen. And I just want to say, they're doing such a wonderful thing for our community, especially those that can't afford insurance or don't have insurance. I had an elderly senior citizen complaining that she couldn't see a dentist because she didn't, or none of them took Medicaid, and so I actually referred her to MyCare. So I think this is a great thing for the community, and I appreciate, their consideration for expanding the area that they currently serve right now. So I will definitely be supporting this. Thank you, Chair.
Commissioner Matuzak.
Again, a function of being a new person here. The county does the county own outright what I will always refer to as the Farmer Jack building?
Yes.
So we own it outright. We use part of that space, and then we lease the rest of it. Except we've had a vacant part of it.
I would say we use part of it, and we don't lease all of the remaining suites. We have the east end, I say, we lease out. So there's a number of suites.
So there's still other
There's
vacant.
still vacant space there.
All right. Thank you. That's my question. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Haw.
Thank you, Chair. So, in understanding the additions to be utilized or looked at through grant funding, there's no cost to the county
Not for the build-out, no.
for the build-up.
Right.
That's all I have. Thank you, Chair.
Commissioner Zinner.
Thank you, Chair. How many patients do they see now? What percentage of patients?
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Hi, Commissioner Song, it's nice to see you again, and thank you for coming out in August when you came out to our ribbon cutting. So MyCare Health Center has 3 locations in Macomb County. We're in Centerline, Clinton Township, and Mount Clemens, and we serve about 5,000 patients annually. 89% of those live in Macomb County. We take all types of insurance, every type of Medicaid, private insurances as well, but we're a safety net provider, and we're in the community to make sure that people don't go without care because they can't afford it. So we use a federal grant that we receive to fund a sliding fee program, and that way people can get assistance based on family size and income so they don't go without health care. So we provide medical, dental, behavioral health, podiatry, obstetrics and gynecology. We have a large medication-assisted treatment program for SUD disorders. We provide transportation. So we basically meet people where they're at and help them get care.
So someone can come in there without any insurance and
That's
you're able to help?
correct.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
So how many patients do you see, or what is your percentage here in Mount Clemens?
I believe we have 5,000 patients, and I think 12 to 13% of them are from Mount Clemens.
So you have a regular.
Yes. And that's why
Established.
we're so very happy to stay in
Yes.
this location, because it's established, and many of our patients just walk to the clinic. And it's on a bus line as well.
Well, I wondered about that.
Mhm.
I know I've seen other businesses, and I think healthcare facilities in there too, and they've never lasted. So, but you
Yeah.
have a unique scenario, I think.
Yes, we do. We've been there for 10 years, and we just continue to grow with expanded hours and more providers all the time.
Do you see people who have good insurance also? Or
Yes.
are you just?
Yeah, Blue Cross, HAP, Aetna, we take all insurances. Mhm.
Well, thank you very much.
Yes, thank you, Commissioner.
Glad you're there. Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
I was just looking through your materials. For all your locations, are all the services rendered at all 3 locations, or are they specific to the locations?
They're specific, and that's why it was so important for us to bring dental to Mount Clemens. We currently have dental in our Centerline location, and it's highly utilized. We're very, very busy, and there is a lack of dental providers in central to northern Macomb County, especially those that take Medicaid. So when we did a community needs analysis, it was really important to us to be able to meet the need in this end of the county. And adding a dental center up here will really help a lot of people that would otherwise go without care.
Commissioner Van Sickle.
Thank you. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
9,200 square feet is a lot of space. How many dental stations, or whatever you call them, are you anticipating that will
Yeah.
hold?
That's a great question. So it's 6 operatories, so 6 dental bays, a panoramic x-ray machine, a chairside x-rays, a lab for dentures and partials, and a sterilization center. The layout, the footprint will be very similar to our Centerline location, and I would love to show you if you want to come see it.
Do you hire full-time dentists, or do you have
Yes.
volunteer dentists?
There are employees. We currently have 2 full-time dentists and 1 registered hygienist. And we hope that the new dental center will add about 5 full-time employees to our Mount Clemens site. MyCare has about 52 employees.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Commissioner Nard, still in the first round.
Hi.
Hi.
No questions. I just wanted to say, just commend you guys on your work. I've sent several people from my district to the Centerline location. And even during COVID, it was really convenient that you guys offered the COVID testing and vaccine. So that was really good. I will be supporting this as well.
Thank you, Commissioner. It was really important to us to meet the need with COVID, with testing, vaccines. Thank you. Awesome. Thank you.
Commissioner Song, second round.
Thank you, Chair. Karen, I think it'd be really important if you haven't already connected with the Veterans Affairs just because they do the dental day. And so I wrote this down, I forgot to mention it earlier, is that I could see MyCare partnering with the Veterans Department to offer care for our veterans, because I think that's really important, and there is a huge need for that, not just for dental, but also for mental health as well.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
Seeing no other speakers, please vote.
Motion passes 13-0.
Okay, the next two items were actually waived by our Government Oversight Committee Chair. Just want to make reference to that specifically. First one is collective bargaining agreement with the Police Officer Labor Council for January 1st, 2022 to December 31st, 2024. I need a motion to recommend this to full board.
Chair, without objection, I would move we take C and D collectively together.
I'll take that motion. I have support.
Support by Nard.
Supported by Nard. Okay, Andrew, you have the floor.
Chair, before he speaks, if I may, these were the contracts that were going to come to us in December. We hadn't had a printed copy or the data made available to us, so I recommended to the HR director at that time, no longer that title, to wait until January. In January, they had a ratification problem, which was a good thing we hadn't approved it, because we would have had to go back and redo it again. It was proposed to be on the Government Oversight Committee, the last one. If you recall, we had 19 candidates we interviewed that evening. So I respectfully called the Chairman of Finance and asked him if he would take both of these issues, and he didn't hesitate to agree to do that. So I want to personally thank him for doing that, because there was a few comments that Thursday night that it took a long time to get through the Government Oversight meeting. This is one of the reasons I asked Joe to take these on, and I want to personally thank him for doing that. So thank you, Joe. And he told me he'll get even.
Thank you very much, Chairman Sabatini, and thank you for entertaining this today on your agenda. I do want to say that I always thought that we were directed to come up here because we're the prettiest, most debonair, and most photogenic. That's why they send me, Steve, Joe, but it might be because we do the work on some of these things. So I do appreciate the time. That the POLC is our captain's group. It has 5 members, soon to be 5 members, excuse me. It had 4 members previously. We are adding the dispatch director, which is a very exciting opportunity for us. We anticipate an internal candidate for that. So that's probably the biggest difference in that contract, is adding an additional captain level position. So that's the POLC agreement. The FOP agreement, also covering our dispatchers and our deputies. We did have a ratification issue with that, as Commissioner Hall was so kind to share. We had brought that ahead of time just for informational purposes, which was a little bit outside our norm. Probably means we shouldn't do that ever again, just stick to the plan. So it's the first time that we had a ratification issue. We made one small adjustment. The vote flipped almost entirely. Both of these, the captains passed unanimously. The FOP passed by about an 80% clearance rate. So we're very excited about that, and I will stop talking and take any questions that you have.
Thank you, Andrew. I'm just trying to get to the right screen here for commissioner comments. So if anyone would like to speak, if you can just log in under item C, 7C, that's where I'm at.
When I brought, sorry.
No, go ahead, Andrew.
When I had brought D prior, the FOP agreement, you had asked a question, Commissioner, about the pass-through and the costs that would go to our municipalities that contract with us for Sheriff's Office members, and I believe Steve had an opportunity to speak with you about that, but he's certainly able to speak to that.
Yeah, that is one of my questions. I don't see any speakers yet, so one of my questions is in regards to the agreements that we have specifically Macomb Township and other communities that contract with the Macomb County Sheriff's Department. So have we notified any of those stakeholders in regards to what this will affect, how this will affect them and what that number is?
We have not yet, but if the board approves these two contracts, we will notify them in very short order.
Okay. Is that typically our process where we don't notify them until this board has voted? Do we have any heads up prior to that so that they can?
Generally speaking, we wait. This is a little different in that we've got something different being ratified than what we put in the budget and when we built the original contracts.
Okay.
So usually we have enough notice just based on timing to build that into the proposals for upcoming renewals.
So specific to my community, with Macomb Township, I think we're probably the largest contract that we have with the county, right?
Yeah.
So what's that total in addition to what was anticipated per their contract?
You asking what the additional amount is?
Correct.
In year one, it's about $125,000. And Macomb Township contracts with 37 personnel.
Okay. So, and that's the 125, that's between both of these agreements?
That's yes. So you have some dispatchers, you've got a school liaison, you've got deputies, you've got a lieutenant, you have a sergeant one. So that's, all those roll up, all have escalators based on the deputy's contract.
So Steve, the 125, that's for year one. And then year two is, in year three, is that in conjunction with what we had already quoted them, or is there an increase in those as well?
There are increases in those as well.
How much are those per year?
For Macomb Township, it's about $170,000 in year two and a little over $200,000 in year three.
So we're talking about $500,000 increase over the course of their 3 years. So that's, I mean, that's pretty substantial for my community. I mean, if they already have in their budget a 2% increase over those 3 years, and that's across the board, everything that's part of this contract, including benefits, everything, correct?
All in.
All in. Okay. Seeing no speakers, please vote.
Motion passes 13-0.
On behalf of all of our employees, commissioners, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Andrew. Okay, next item is correspondence. This is year-to-date bids and proposals posted on Mitten. I need a motion to receive and file.
Motion to receive and file, Van Sickle.
Made by Van Sickle, supported by Romano. Commissioner Song.
Thank you, Chair. I was wondering if we have an update on our proposal on the Mitten site?
All right, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, our proposals come in, and we had a bid meeting last week, and they reviewed the bids, and they're going through them, and they're going to select the top two, and it's proceeding, so.
How many bids did we get?
4, I believe.
Okay.
4 bids.
Thank you.
The third time we got 4. First time we.
That, I know it's not our job to promote the Mitten, but I just wonder what we could do to help increase the bids that are going on the website. Like maybe there needs to be some outreach done. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner. Chair Brown.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, one of the ways to go out is to request for information prior to a bid. Some bids, some communities go out for requests for information on bids if they're looking for technology, to get some ideas of requests for information on what type of solutions may be available to solve a particular problem. And then from there, once you get a sense of what the issues are, you can form a bid and to go out, and maybe some of those same people that sent you the bids for information may bid on it. It's been used before. That's That's one suggestion that I've made to the OCE's office about maybe doing that in IT department. Sometimes we receive no bids. And they say they do that from time to time. It's not wholesale everything they do, but that was one of the things that they recognize that, and they try that sometimes. So that's my bid on that. So thank you.
Commissioner Song, did you have anything else? Seeing no other speakers, please vote.
Motion passes 13-0.
Okay, next item is public participation. This is the second opportunity for public participation, max of 3 minutes on any issue. Going once, twice, we'll close public participation. Next item is commissioners' comments. Trying to refresh. Commissioner Kleinfeld.
I just have one thing. Joe, you're absolutely correct. The clerk has come in front of us regularly. The prosecutor comes in front of us. The Public Works Commissioner comes in front of us, and Sheriff Wickersham comes in front of us. So just wanted to acknowledge that. Thank you.
Commissioner.
Chair, I see Mr. Biondo still there. I just don't want him to think that your mic, Joe. One second. No? Proceed. May I? Thank you. Sorry. I just don't want Mr. Biondo to think that I don't feel that he's competent enough, but he is not the treasurer, and that's why I'm requesting that's the treasurer. Mr. Biondo is more than competent, I'm sure, to answer some of these questions, but he is not the treasurer. Thank you, Chair.
Commissioner Zinner.
I didn't realize I pushed it, but I would agree with Commissioner Song. We never see the executive either.
Okay, seeing no other speakers, just one thing I wanted to bring up. I don't know if anybody saw the paper in regards to the Great Lakes Water Authority, in regards to their last meeting and their last vote. I can tell you my community is in an uproar right now because of another increase in our water rates. And it's primarily in regards to my understanding, and don't quote me on this, but a write-off of the debt related to the unpaid water bills, specifically to, I believe, Highland Park. I believe that's the community specifically. So now we, being part of that authority, are having to pay the water bills for those communities that are basically being written off. And I don't know exactly, but I think it was passed unanimously. I brought this issue up before, just in regards to that authority, and we have one seat at the table. That one seat is Brian Baker, who represents us very, very well. This is no attack whatsoever on Brian. It's just unfair that we only have one vote at that table, and we're just outvoted consistently at every single vote that comes to that authority. I just feel we're just a donor county to that. And I don't know how we can fix the problem, quite honestly, but I think it's coming to the point now. I mean, water bills in my community, people are asking me $400, $500. I mean, it's just out of control. I'm sure you guys have gotten questions about this. You know, this board years ago approved that authority, and I brought this up, and I know Brian came and gave us a report on it, but, you know, it's similar to other authorities. We only see them when they want a renewal, or they say they don't want a renewal, and they promise that to us, and then they come back and ask for another renewal. And it's getting out of control. So I just wanted to bring that up. I suggest you do your due diligence on that and look into that as well, if you already haven't gotten questions in regards to your water rates going up significantly. Seeing no other speakers.
Motion to adjourn.
Support. Made by Romano, supported by Hall. Please vote. Have a great rest of the day, commissioners.
See you tomorrow.